So, you want to do this thing?
Yeah, I reckon.
All right, my friend, as we said at the top of the show, this weekend at the recording of this podcast is the actual 2016 NHL draft up in Buffalo. So with your initials being GM and with the draft going on, we figured why not? Let's do our own deck hockey draft.
Oh, I thought of another tie-in for this to justify it.
Sure.
With the new team coming in Las Vegas, there's going to be an expansion draft.
That's very true. Mm-hmm. There you go.
So, so basically what we're going to do is, as you may recall, if you are you don't even have to be that long time of a listener, but if you've been listening in the last few weeks, you may recall that we recently did a segment about hockey-related people in fiction and pop culture, movies and comics and television shows, whether it's about an actual hockey player or just somebody tangentially related to hockey. We broke down our favorites and the best and maybe some of the worst hockey-related characters out there in media, I guess. And so what we're going to do is we're going to revisit that conversation, and we are going to hold our own Hit the Deck draft. And we are going to pull from that pool of players and maybe a few other people, and we are going to form our own deck hockey teams. James and I are going to, as in a normal draft, James and I are going to take turns drafting players and creating our own teams from the available pool. So James is the general manager of his team, and that team is going to be called what, James?
The Misbehaving Few. And for all of you Mets fans out there, if you recall the days of Shea Stadium and Bob Murphy, as you were walking into the stadium, he would always announce to the fans to behave and conduct yourselves in a nice, proper order, which Met fans always did anyway, but just for the opposing team's fans, you know. So one of the things that he would end up with saying is, make sure everybody can enjoy the game, with the exception of some misbehaving few or something to that extent. So that's why I figured I'd come out with my deck hockey team being named the Misbehaving Few.
Well, my team, James, is going to be the Queen's Crash, because I discovered that a crash is a herd of rhino.
Oh, wow. That is awesome.
Yes. A crash of rhino. So we are the Queen's Crash, because Queens is where I am from, born and raised and lived all my life, except for the few nights that I've spent on your couch. But that's temporary residence in Brooklyn. But
you're always welcome here. Yeah.
Oh,
but that's,
thank you.
Anyway, from hanging out, because Brooklyn is kind of trying to pick up on in Queens lead. So with the Barclays Center and MCU Park where the Cyclones play. So yeah, there's a lot of times where Gary has to crash over here after going to a wrestling event or a baseball game or whatever the case is, as opposed to me usually crashing your wonderful borough and watching the Mets and skating in the World Hockey Arena and stuff like that too. So it at least I could do for you. But yeah, and I wanted Gary to go first just because of his initials, but he's such a generous, fair human being that he insisted on that we flip a coin to see who will draft first. So, fine.
Before we do that, James wanted me to go first simply because my initials were GM, which is the managing executive of a team who picks the players. For those of you who may, for some reason, be listening to this podcast and yet know nothing about sports. So that was the logic there, but I said, no, we are fair, and we have an equal stake in this, and I will accept no undue advantage. So we're going to flip a coin. But before we flip that coin, James, why don't you tell me who's coaching your team?
Yes. Yeah, before I announce the coach, I just want to let everybody know out there that we're going to stick to 6 starters apiece plus an extra skater, which Gary so smartly suggested for the times when you have to pull a goalie. And we'll stick with a regular hockey function where you have 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and a goalie. So we'll stick to that 6-player, 7-player format. And so for my head coach, I have selected Mr. Reggie Dunlop from the movie Slapshot. And he's the player coach, as a matter of fact, of the Federal League's Chiefs. But he's in retirement now, so he will just stick to the bench.
Good. So I guess you have, if nothing else, you have like an emergency player, backup player that you can go to if need be. So you're already ahead of the game there.
Well, yeah, but I don't want to bend the rules or anything like that. So if you're able to do the same thing, we'll put that rule in.
That's
but
fine.
No, he'll stick to the bench. He'll stick to the bench.
We're talking about like an emergency backup kind of situation.
Okay.
That's it's.
Gotcha.
All
yeah,
right.
like if our goalie goes down or something. Okay.
So
that's
Reggie Dunlop, manager
Yes.
Reggie Dunlop. Great choice. So
Thank you.
per your suggestion, I am for the Queen's Crash. Their manager is going to be Angus MacGyver.
I never knew his first name.
Yes, because we know that Richard Dean Anderson played hockey as a child or as a young man, and I figure even though his playing career was tragically cut short, he still, being MacGyver, if anyone can draw up a creative play, it's got to be him. So he's my pick for head coach.
Well done. That's
All
an
right.
excellent pick. Good, great job scouting on that one, man.
It was your idea.
Now it's my turn to pat myself on the talk
Yeah,
about
really.
a back-ended compliment. That's pretty sick.
That was a great suggestion.
Sorry. I'm going to the box for that one. That's bad.
All right, James. So okay. The time has come for the coin toss.
Okay.
So, call it in the air, and
you call it because
No, you call it. I'm flipping. I should tell our listening audience, as I told you, that this coin that we're flipping has no real significance, but it's just interesting in that it happens to be a 1979 silver dollar. I guess that's like a Susan B. Anthony. And so I didn't even know I had it until I tried to use it to pay for something thinking it was a quarter, and the cashier flagged me down and said, no, this isn't a quarter, this is a dollar. I said, thank you very much. So I guess somebody gave it to me as change for something, but now it's mine. And that is what I'm using for this prestigious coin toss to determine who gets the first pick in the 2016 Hit the Deck draft. All right, James, call it in the air and go.
heads.
It is heads. You get the first pick.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yes. So we'd like to invite Mr. James Sajazi of the Misbehaving Few to read off his first pick in the 2016 Hit the Deck draft.
Thank you, Mr. Rhino Mac. We have a loose 3-minute limit for our picks, but I'll just jump right into it. With the first selection of the 2016 Hit the Deck draft, the Misbehaving Few choose Mr. Seabass from the movie Dumb and Dumber. And Seabass is a forward, a right wing to be exact, from Providence, Rhode Island. And one of my all-time favorite characters from one of my all-time favorite movies, and therefore Seabass gets the coveted first pick.
All right. I guess I'm on the clock.
Now it goes to you.
Do you want to tell us why you picked Seabass?
I chose, sure, that's a good idea. I chose Seabass because he is portrayed by the one and only Cam Neely of the Boston Bruins fame, one of the all-time best scorers in the league's history. Unfortunately, his career was cut short because of back issues, something that Mets fans can relate to with David Wright, so that really hits home to the severity of such a problem, especially in hockey and in baseball. Having back issues is just, it's taken down many a great athlete, and really, it's a shame. But during his time, he's a consummate 50-goal scorer and a great teammate, tough guy, big forward. He probably could have been just as comfortable on defense, but having the coolness to be a character, a pretty shifty character, if you will, in the movie Dumb and Dumber, which is one of my brothers and mine and my sister-in-law's favorite movies of all time. It's really funny. If you get a chance to watch it, definitely do so. But the only thing I won't do for Seabass is meet him for manly love in dirty restroom in Colorado in some gas station somewhere. Other than that,
No judgment, James.
No judgment. Away we go. So that's why I chose Seabass as the coveted first pick.
All right, good choice. So
Thank you.
for the first pick of the 2016, well, the second pick, but for the Queen's Crash's first pick of the 2016 Hit the Deck draft, we are going to take from New York, New York, in goal, Casey Jones.
Oh, nice. Very good.
So Casey Jones, of course, being ally of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, vigilante, who patrols the streets of New York wearing a hockey mask and beating thugs up with sports equipment. He's obviously very determined, and he doesn't. I'm not going to say he's reckless with his body, but he can take a beating, I would assume. So he can take some punishment, and he's fearless, and he's a staunch defender. So I think that he's the perfect man to stand in goal for the Queen's Crash.
Agreed on that one. Excellent pick. And I'm glad you went with your heart, too, sticking with a goalie. So the most important player on the ice, or on the court, if you will.
All right. So you're on the clock, James.
Okay. So for my second pick of the 2016 Hit the Deck draft, the misbehaving few choose Mr. Johnny Upton, defenseman from Montreal, Quebec. Speaking of Quebec. And this young man is the captain of the Federal League's Chiefs from the movie Slapshot. So Johnny Upton, we scouted for many a reason. One, being a captain of a team as unruly as the Charlestown Chiefs takes a lot of guts. You need to be a manly man to do so, especially handling the Hanson brothers, among other people, and our coach, Reggie Dunlop, suggested him very highly as well. And he's a tough, hard-nosed guy, speaks his mind, sticks to his guns, and is a heck of a player at that. So with all those things on his resume, had to stick with Reggie Dunlop's old teammate from the Chiefs, Mr. Johnny Upton.
All right, very nice. And for our second pick, the Queen's Crash are going to take, on defense, from the city of Chicago, Illinois, Harry Dresden. Harry Dresden is a wizard who, for the purposes of this podcast, in the television adaptation of his book series, uses a hockey stick for his wizarding staff. I figure he keeps himself in very good shape, and he is somebody who he definitely can take a beating. He does frequently go toe-to-toe with people and things that are bigger than him, meaner than him, and outclass him pretty much, and he does so recklessly and without regard for his own safety. And I figure that's the kind of guy I want back on the blue line. Because if you got a mean old forward bearing down on the goal, you want somebody who's going to give up his body at all costs to do the right thing and save the day for his team. So, and he's a good guy. He respects the rules. He's not going to cheat by using magic to win the game because he doesn't roll that way. So just so you know, you don't have to worry about that. He's going to play it straight, but he's going to go all out. Plus, he owns a spirit of intellect, an ancient spirit of intellect, who can probably give him some pointers on good ways to play the game. So I figure that's a bonus.
Oh, big time. Well done.
So Harry Dresden.
All right. Nicely done. Between Mr. Dresden and Mr. MacGyver, that's, wow. We certainly have our work cut out for us to try and figure that conundrum out. But for the third pick, the misbehaving few will take goaltender Sergeant Mace from the city of Philadelphia and from the toy line known as COPS, Central Organization of Police Specialists. Yeah, try to shore up our defense and like we said before, probably the most important player on the deck hockey team is your goalie. So as we said in a few episodes ago, describing Sergeant Mace, he has a hockey glove, which he uses to hold his bazooka. He will not use his bazooka in the games, as Mr. Dresden will be kind enough to keep the magic on the side. So we just have to be fair and oblige that as well. But
Nice.
yeah, hard-nosed guy, and he's from the future too. So he's coming back. So maybe he's learned a trick or two on how to play deck hockey and figure out some new ways to protect the goal. And as being a police officer, it's in his nature, and the captain of the SWAT team, it's in his nature just to be defensive and guard the house at all costs. So Sergeant Mace is our goalie for the misbehaving few.
That's actually a great pick. I mean, you figure, like you said, he's from the future, and we know how quickly the game is evolving from, the kind of slow, not that today's players don't have skill, but way back when, 50, 60, 80 years ago, the NHL was very different. It was hockey was a game played a lot slower, and a lot more focus was just put on fundamentals and basically moving the puck around. Now guys are huge. The game plays at warp speed. Everybody's got a really hard shot. Everybody's got a really accurate shot. I can't imagine what the game's going to be like in the future. But he's from the future, so he's going to be conditioned to that level of play. We have our work cut out for us trying to get one past this guy.
Yeah, we'll see who else you have up your sleeve in terms of forwards and whatnot. So, your defense is...
With the way that equipment keeps getting bigger, this guy is going to be like this. He's probably going to be geared up like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in net.
He does have a jetpack, but again, he won't be using that in goal either. So
all right.
he'll abide by the modern day rules.
Okay, fair enough.
He's a cop. He's a good cop. He's an honest man. So.
Well, as long as he's a good cop.
Yes.
Well, for my next pick, James, I'm going to go off the board on this one.
Uh-oh.
It's within the bounds of the discussion that we had, and the bounds of what we've established for where we can pull for these things.
Okay.
For my next pick, the Queen's Crash at forward, hailing from Gotham City, I'm taking Batman.
Oh man.
Yep. As we discussed in that previous podcast, Batman played a version of hockey in Batman and Robin. He had skates built into his boots, which he's not going to need because it's deck hockey. But I think if anyone can run around and keep up his stamina, hit people, and be accurate, it's going to be the Dark Knight.
Oh, man.
He's going to have an accurate shot, but he's also going to have a defense-first mentality. And you know what? I like that kind of strategic thinker.
I don't think I'm going to field a team versus you guys already. You only have 3, and it's already well done, man.
Thank you.
You came to win.
Hey, I don't mess around.
Not at all.
Full disclosure, part of the reason that I'm going off the board now, and maybe a couple other times going forward, is most of the movies you put up for the pool that we can pull from, hockey-centric movies, most of those movies I haven't actually seen. So I'm maybe that makes me a bad hockey fan, but it also makes me an uninformed hockey fan. So I'm trying to do my best here with what I've got. It's
100% legal. There's nothing wrong with that. It's that is very well, much so in the boundary. We discussed the Batman and Robin movie. Mm-hmm. And it's true, and absolutely, Batman is a legitimate, 100% legal pick. And I'm just really angry I didn't think of him. So, well done.
That's all right. You're on the clock, James.
Okay. How do you follow that up? Answer is you don't. But with the 4th pick in the 2016 Hit the Deck Hockey Draft, the misbehaving few chooses forward Guy, quote, Smiley, Rod Hockey. This young man, yeah. This man hails from Brooklyn, New York, and specifically from Patrick Fogarty's Rod Hockey set. If Patrick okays the deal, the misbehaving few welcome Guy Smiley, Rod Hockey with open arms.
I'm sorry, you said he was up front? He's a forward?
He's a forward, yes.
Okay. And what are the qualities of Guy Smiley, Rod Hockey that make him such a great pick?
Unfortunately, he's a little one-dimensional, if you can deal with that corny joke, which is why he's on forward. He is he has stamina through the roof. He never gives up. Unfortunately, if it's raining outside, we're going to have a problem. and he is quite easy to knock over and whatnot, but he always has a smile on his face. He always bounces back, and he's always willing to take the shot and shoot accurately at all costs. So one of my first exposures to the beautiful sport of hockey was thanks to Patrick and his rod hockey game. So had to go with who he dubbed Guy Smiley, because all the players had smiles on their faces. So that's our pick for forward.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so for our next pick, the Queens Crash are going to take, on defense from Stillwater, Minnesota, Fulton Reed. You, James, probably wouldn't know who he is because you don't watch the Mighty Ducks movies. But he was a kid who, kind of a street kid, an outsider, big guy, kind of a goon, but, very loyal, has a crazy hard shot like somebody else I know. And he knows Daredevil, so that's a plus. Well, no. So the actor that played him in the Mighty Ducks movie is now playing Foggy in the Daredevil series. So he knows Daredevil. So yeah, Fulton Reed, big guy, big hard-nosed defender. He's gonna match up nicely with Harry on the blue line. He's going to be more of an offensive defenseman, both with his shot and with his body. And he's going to be the more aggressive guy, while I think Harry's probably going to be more of a stay-at-homer. So, I think they'll complement each other nicely. He'll be the leech to Harry's Bookaboom, although he's probably leech and Bookaboom wrapped into one with his size. So that's who we're taking.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, you definitely... You are a defensive juggernaut, but with Batman being one of your forwards, golly, you guys are well-balanced if I've ever heard. So for the fifth pick, the misbehaving few will go a little bit of a surprise here. Forward, Mr. Kelly Youngblood. Now, Kelly Youngblood is from somewhere in upstate New York and is the older brother of Dean Youngblood from the movie by the same name, Youngblood. Now, Kelly... unfortunately, he had an injury where his career was cut short, and then he had to go back to his father's farm and work the land. But he never gave up that hope and fire to become a hockey player, which when he saw his younger brother struggling with the fact that he wasn't much of a fighter, and Dean Youngblood, who eventually did make it, thanks in large part to his brother's support, was discouraged because his best friend and forward was hit by an illegal hit in one of the goons in an opposing player from the league he was in, and kind of discouraged him a little bit. So he went back home with his tail between his legs, and Kelly just wouldn't have any of it. So one of his quotes was that he would have given anything to take another shot at joining the Mustangs, was the team, which was roughly a minor league team to get to the bigs eventually. And he was thinking of taking Dean's place instead, but he taught Dean how to fight and get his courage back and go on and have a great career out there for the Mustangs. So in terms of redemption and for rewarding being a great big brother and a good man and a selfless human being, Kelly Youngblood will be the left wing for the misbehaving few.
Nice. All right. Good solid pick. Good hockey player.
Unfortunately, I don't think he stands much of a chance versus Dresden and Reed, but hey, you never know.
So for my next pick, I think I'm not sure if this is going to be a pro or a con against your team, but I'm going way off the board for this one. For my next pick, at forward, from Silicon Valley, California, I am taking the NHL on Fox spot.
Oh, wow. Please tell me the logic behind that. That is an amazing pick.
Well, for those of you who may be too young to remember, 20 or so years ago, when Fox almost ruined the game of hockey by bringing the glow puck into the sport, and as James is fond of saying, almost killed Brian Leach in the process, their avatar They still have something similar, I think, for their football games, but they had two hockey robots who had like hockey helmets and sticks, and they fought and stuff. And honestly, the robots were the coolest thing about the broadcasts. The robots bore the team logo of whatever teams were playing in that particular afternoon's matchup. So I figure a robot, plenty of stamina. We're not playing on ice, so we're not worried about the robot shorting out due to rain or rusting, or due to water or rusting, unless, of course, it rains, in which case I'm going to have to go to the bench probably. But, c'est la vie. It's a risk, but it's no more of a risk than Guy Smiley Rod Hockey. So he's I don't know that the NHL on Fox bot has much in the way of strategy, but he's a big bruiser. He can be an enforcer on the wing, and I'm sure he'll be great at the screen. And he's that kind of muscle you want up front. Just sometimes you just want somebody who can shove their way into the crease, get their hands dirty, or robotic appendages in this case dirty, and just get a dirty goal scored.
That is very true. Excellent logic behind that as well. As Gary and I can attest to that, the last few seconds of a hockey game are intense, and that's when you need guys like that to put the puck in the net. So well done. And speaking of redemption, that's excellent, because I don't think anybody would have been thoughtful enough to think of the NHL on Fox bot. So excellent job at that.
Thank you.
I look forward to losing to you guys. So
he's been in retirement though for a while, so he may be a little rusty.
Okay.
A little rusty because he's a robot. All right. I'm sorry.
And with that, kind of inadvertently following your lead here, for the sixth pick of the 2016 Hit the Deck Hockey Draft, the misbehaving few will pick up defenseman from Boston, Massachusetts, the NHL Guardian Bruin. Yeah, now, obviously being a Ranger fan, I seriously considered the NHL Guardian Ranger, but wasn't sure if you were going to pick him up or not, so I tried to hedge my bet a little bit and do a little strategy. So figured he's a huge bear, and his skill sets are pretty good in terms of being a defenseman, where you can't really sneak up on him. He has excellent sense of smell as well, so he could know when the pressure's on and whatnot, and very defensive-minded as it is. A protective, big, burly bear with huge claws and such, and nasty teeth and whatnot. But he'll abide by the rules. He won't be clawing people to death or biting anybody, but he will try his best to keep the bot at bay. But as for Batman, I don't know. We'll see about that. But anyway, yeah. So for our sixth pick, defenseman, the NHL Guardian Bruin.
All right, that is a solid pick.
Thank you. So, yeah, with the Ranger too. I mean, like you pointed out, he had that awesome. He uses the Ranger crest as a
shield.
So I wasn't sure if that was going to be legal in deck hockey. So
that's a great
it really
point.
came down. Yeah, it came down to that. So.
All right. Well, I feel like I don't have enough actual hockey players on my team. So for my sixth pick, the Queens Crash are going to take from Minneapolis, Minnesota. At center, we're going to take Charlie Conway from the Mighty Ducks. He was the heart and soul of that team. He was the leader. He was the most skilled player. He was the guy who wanted it the most. He was a skilled player, but he was also a team player, although occasionally he cost his team by being a little selfish. But I think sometimes the best players want to be the best players and they want to be the heroes. So I think we can work with that. I'm okay with that. So Mr. Charlie Conway, if you can take off your Ducks jersey for just a minute, you're going to be a crash guy. I'm going to have to work on that. But you're going to be part of the Queen's Crash, brother.
Well done. And excellent scouting again. Honest scouting as well. And the benefit of having Batman as his wingmate is just going to benefit Charlie tremendously. So Batman has a knack of teaching skills and discipline to younger fighters with him, and just as a father figure. So well done. That's you guys are stacked, man. The Queen's Crash, boy. I want a jersey. I'm fans of these guys, actually.
Now, James, I know it's your turn, and I'm going to let you take your pick. And I'm sure you have somebody down already, but in the spirit of true sportsmanship, as we are sportsmen and friends and equals, I feel like my team is a little too stacked, and maybe you need something to even the odds. So for our kind of hero player, the utility player that is going to come off the bench or be available off the bench, I want to offer a suggestion to you, and you can feel free to take it or not, but You may not have thought of this. This is another one that's way off the board. I am going to suggest that the misbehaving few draft Wayne Gretzky from Pro Stars.
Wow.
Like you said, I got a stacked team. I think it's only fair.
That is way too generous.
No. That I have Batman. You can at least take Wayne Gretzky if you want him.
Well, you can't turn down the great one. He's my favorite player too, by the way, along with millions of other hockey fans. But
this is what I figured.
Is that really legal though? I mean, he's Wayne Gretzky. He's not. I know with the cartoon you're referring to, and I believe it was a comic book as well, but. He's not a character. He's the man.
No. This is the character.
Okay.
You're not drafting the great one. You're drafting the guy who's awesome at hockey, and then in his spare time fights crime and injustice, and has skates that pop out of his sneakers, rollerblades that pop out of his sneakers. You're drafting that guy.
Okay, so was he at least voiced by Wayne Gretzky or somebody else? Do you know that?
I don't remember.
I'd feel more comfortable if it was some actor or something like that, like Lorenzo Music was supposed to be
IMDb ahoy! Funny thing about Lorenzo Music, and you may already know this, but Lorenzo Music famously voiced Garfield in Garfield and Friends, and in the Garfield movie, the live action one that was recent in within the last
10 years
decade,
or so, yeah.
Garfield was voiced by Bill Murray, who rose to fame. Well, not rose to fame, but who established himself, one of his biggest movies, as Peter Venkman. And in the Ghostbusters cartoon, Venkman was voiced by Lorenzo Music. It's the circle of life.
100% correct, and you're speaking in my wheelhouse too, because growing up I was a huge Garfield fan, so I love Lorenzo Music. And then I was very excited when he did do the voice of Peter Venkman in the real Ghostbusters cartoon, because Peter Venkman was my favorite Ghostbuster too. So like you said, the circle of life and worlds collided, and I was very happy. So that was very cool.
Who doesn't love Venkman?
Absolutely.
Although I don't know. I was going to say maybe I'd probably be more of an Egon, but if I'm being honest, I'm probably more of a Rick Moranis.
No way. And one Christmas, I wanted the Ecto-1 more than anything in the world, and Santa Claus came through. So the toy, the Ecto-1 toy.
James, you will be relieved to know that
good.
Pro Stars, Wayne Gretzky was voiced by Townsend Coleman.
Okay.
Not the great one himself.
All right. You deserve something for that. I don't know, payment or future draft pick? Or...
No. Consider it professional courtesy.
Well, thank you, sir. That is, I mean, even for the coin flip, you are a gentleman to a level that people just can't even comprehend. So thank you, sir. With your wonderful recommendation, the misbehaving few will draft the Sports Stars. Is that what it was? Version
Pro
of
Stars.
Pro Stars, excuse me. The Pro Stars version of Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah, it was for those of you who may not know what we're talking about. In the early 90s, there was a short-lived cartoon called Pro Stars, in which Wayne Gretzky, Bo Jackson, and I think there was one other big star, Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan,
yes. They, as I alluded to earlier, they were athletes by day, and they fought crime and injustice by night using their amazing athletic gifts and random sports-related weaponry. So that's the guy we're talking about.
Michael's prime is slave time. Pro stars, show stars. Wayne's hot, slab shot. Bo knows where to go. Pro stars, all stars. Pro stars. Blue light, crunch time. Wayne will score just in time.
So that was the theme song to Pro Stars. And one thing I had forgotten, and shame on me, is that not only does Wayne Gretzky have rollerblades that pop out of his sneakers, and not only are they skates, but they're rocket skates.
Uh-huh.
But in the opening theme, Wayne Gretzky drops a puck and shoots it, and it turns into a boomerang that hits a bad guy. That's who you drafted, sir.
You are too generous. Thank you so much.
That is the kind of skill. I mean, you know.
Yeah, we won't use any boomerang pucks on you, so thank you. But in case you were curious, I did have another player in mind, but
I would like to know who you were going to draft.
Yeah.
Who's going to be sitting at home shaking their head because they're not getting a call?
I'm sorry. Hopefully next year. Keep striving for it, and unless he joins another team to bite me in the butt. But my extra skater was going to be Jack the Chimp from the movie MVP, most valuable primate. But I hope he doesn't gouge my eyes out or anything like that. So I think he would feel flattered if you're going to get turned down. Mm-hmm. If you're going to lose out to anybody, Wayne Gretzky is you just tip your cap and move along. So.
That is a quality choice. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm almost sorry that I suggested it.
Well, since he's on the roster now, I mean, he's back on the board. If you want him, he's yours. But knowing by the way you've drafted, so without further ado, I've delayed you long enough. We're waiting with bated breath. What is the final pick of the Queen's Crash?
Oh, well, for our final pick, this is another one that's off the board, but it's a little more, a little less obvious. As if Batman and the NHL Fox robot were obvious. But regardless, for our final pick in the 2016 Hit the Deck draft, the Queen's Crash select from Tri-County, Minnesota, Riley Anderson, the little girl from Inside Out.
Oh, nice pick.
Yes, so thank you. So Riley, for those of you who haven't seen the movie, Riley is she's a hockey player. She's pretty good. She loves hockey. It's pretty much her favorite thing in the world, and she's got a lot of spunk. She's a great skater. She can literally skate around rings around the other players, and she's I like her spunk. She's got a lot of spunk, and I want her on my team in the clutch. Plus, I figure she's a 12-year-old girl. The other players are going to at least hesitate before they try and smash her, if they can catch up with her. And I think, if nothing else, I think Batman's going to have a little girl's back. So I don't think they're going to get anywhere near her, even if they try. So she's my final draft pick, Riley Anderson from Inside Out.
Well done, sir. Just phenomenal team that you put together. So if we were to play each other, I think it would be a pretty easy slam dunk for the Crash. But
you never know. That's why you play the game.
You never know. It's at minimum, you win the draft. So let's just leave it at that.
Thank you. So why don't we just read off our teams for the benefit of the listener?
Okay. All right. You want to go first? Or?
No, please.
So for the misbehaving few, we have forward Seabass. He will be the right wing. At center, at defenseman, Johnny Upton from Slapshot. Goaltender, Sergeant Mace from Cops. On forward, Mr. Guy Smiley Rodhockey. Left wing, Mr. Kelly Youngblood. And on defense, the NHL Guardian Bruin. And the extra skater, thanks to the generosity of Mr. Rhino Mac, Pro Stars Wayne Gretzky.
All right. And for the Queen's Crash, we have drafted up front, it is Batman and the NHL Foxbot on either side of center Charlie Conway. On the blue line, I have Harry Dresden and Fulton Reed. We are backstopped by Casey Jones, and our extra skater is Riley Anderson.
That is as solid a squad as you can possibly get.
I would like to see that game.
I would just like to see you guys practice. I don't want to face you guys at all, so that's pretty impressive.
Oh, and our head coach was MacGyver.
Oh, that's right. Yes, right. Yeah, I forgot. My head coach is Mr. Reggie Dunlop.
Yes.
Of the Federal League and the movie Slapshot.
All
so
right.
Sorry about that.
No
so thank you
worries. And may the best team win.
Yeah.